Since winning at Ashton Gate, North End have been knocked out the cup by Ryan Lowe's Wigan. They've lost 3 on the bounce, conceded 8 goals, scored none, been told off by the club not to chant, and now we've got rumours circulating the club might be being sold. What? 2026 has already been for North End, not for good reasons though. We've got Joey back with us this week to review just what on earth is going on at PNE. How are you, Joey?
Would have been better, I think.
Yeah.
The circumstances been slightly better, but yeah, it's been a rough old start to the year.
Yeah, apologies we weren't with you last week. I was down with man flu, but not much to talk about last week either, with of course Hull and Derby as well. But let's get into the Boro one. Here's the social media takes, of course, as well. North End officers. Here's 3 things that need to happen. Number 1, we need to get rid of Walton, sign some players, and get rid of this 3 at the back system. Let's chew over that then, shall we? Lots of people are saying about Walton, conceded 8. Is it confidence that gives to the defenders as well?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I think one of the things you could say about Everson, he's not just an unbelievable keeper that, brings in a confidence by, saving everything on the other end and then always letting you feel that you've got a chance in the game, whether even if you're under the cosh, you've got a chance. All you need to do is get one at the other end, and he'll save a couple, and then you scrape a 1-0 win or whatever. But with Walton, it's not even just the fact that he's been poor, like you say. I think he's just really nervous every time he tries to go. But he's very rooted to his line. He doesn't. The players, just the defense, seem to be all over the place. I mean, you could argue that's also because Hughes is been out and Gibson's just coming back from injury, and he looks very, very shaky himself, so I don't think that's helpful either. So I think it's just that the whole back line at the minute is just gone from one of the most robust in the league to, just like you say, very shaky, very uncertain, and just look like every time the ball goes through. You saw it against Middlesbrough on Saturday. Every time they just put the ball long, it was literally like carnage. It was like kamikaze. It would just no one could actually deal with any of the balls, and every time they went forward, it looked like they could score. And I don't know how we stop that from happening, because at the moment, what do we do without Everson, without Hughes? I don't think them injuries are going to come back any soon. So it's a bit worrying for going into Ipswich on Saturday.
Sliding down the table, of course, as well. We're not going to get relegated. There's a positive.
Well, we'll make it hard for those.
Yeah, James says, if Hull wasn't a wake-up call, then this certainly was. I don't want Walton anywhere near that starting 11. Again, but what do you do, Joey? What's the alternative?
Well, I mean, it's astounding that we're actually talking about Di Cornell after last season. And, I don't think we've actually won a game under him. I think he's played about 15 games for us, and we haven't actually won one single game with us, and we've never kept a clean sheet. But I suppose towards the end of the season, even though, we didn't go on a brilliant run, a lot of the games and goals weren't his fault particularly. And I think the defence were starting to get used to him a bit. So they're probably a bit more familiar to him themselves. So if it means that, we have to bring Cornell back, I just think that's just ridiculous, though, we're saying that, because a lot of people were saying, like, let's just get rid of him completely in the summer. We don't need him and Walton. I think everyone thought Walton was a good signing. On paper, it sounded like a good signing. It sounded like we were actually doing something. I think it, we were credit to the club actually on this one, because actually I think, he signed a player who had championship experience, unlike Cornell, who I think he had 1 season in Peterborough, but it was a bit of a stop-start season. He did really well in the SPL, did Walton. So on paper, it sounded like a good signing for a second keeper. You're never going to get someone as good as Everson, but yeah, I think it's just that confidence is massive. And if Cornell's got more confidence in him, then throw him in. But, I've seen Millwall trying to sign Patterson from Sunderland on loan today. And I'm thinking, if we had a bit of ambition about ourselves, we'd be thinking if Everson is out for an extended period, then that's what we should be doing. But, there's so many other areas we need to sort out first. I just can't see that happening, especially the way the wind is going.
I love this to sum it all up. PNOEFC, it says, I'd like to report abuse given. That's what your post said before the game. There was 11 men on the pitch who dressed in red who abused our behinds. for 90 minutes of our Saturday. I'd also like to report the club for abusing fans' bank accounts. Paying to watch. Paying to watch that. Yeah, strange message given to the away fans. There's good following as well, and every time North End take a good following away, they don't get they don't get what they deserve. In terms of the backing numbers that they take, yeah. What did you make of that reminder not to be not to be abusive?
Yeah, I think we've had it a few times, but I think as I've seen a few fans tweet today regarding the FA statement that they released about not controlling our players and coaches against Hull. So I think we're due. Peter Murphy, the coach, has been charged, and obviously Osmajic as well. I think our fans are having a bit of fun with that, saying, that we expect better behaviour from the players and staff and all this sort of stuff. So it is pretty ironic that they're lecturing us. And even in the statement of the ownership, the Sky News report about this Saudi US person, I think they started off with a lecture to the fans about how they've been giving abuse to the owners and stuff, rather than addressing the story at hand. So it just seems like they always want to take the higher ground on every subject, but it doesn't seem they need to sort of get their own house in order. I think that sounds of it.
Yeah. We'll come on to the Saudi stuff in a second, because it's quite fascinating. So look at this one. Woodson says about Hecky Bottoms, his post-match interviews are starting to do my head in. He doesn't seem worried about the drop-off, almost defeated. It's not good enough. Do you detect that in him as well, listening to his post-match interviews? Do you think he's a man who's just frustrated with the behind the scenes, lack of money, lack of players coming in?
Yeah, it sounds very similar to last season, actually, when we went on that bad run. He never seemed to admit that we were in a relegation battle, if you remember rightly, right up until maybe the last game of the season, and then the board and the manager and the players seemed to actually all covering we could go down today, and it feels a bit like that, but I think it is also frustration. As you say, I think he probably sees this was a great opportunity, and I think it's for us as fans. I think it's not that we want to do what Wrexham are doing and spend 19 million on one player. We were only asking for a couple of decent additions, maybe a couple of loans, maybe a few permanents, but nothing like expecting like us to change our model completely. It was just a case of we've got a brilliant chance. The league this year has been pretty poor, and this is the best chance we're going to get of getting top six, especially being out of the FA Cup, etc. So I can understand why he'd be frustrated, and I think he's been venting it in the media. I think he's been calling some of the issues out, which I think the fans respect, because I think too many managers in the past, including Lowe and stuff, they usually just sort of mirror the statement said by the owners and the chairman. I think just sort of keep on side with them, but I think Hecky Bottom says as it is, which I think fans respect. They like that honesty. But you can tell it's affecting the players. You can tell it's affecting the whole team, and you can see that with I think I spotted on one of the videos. Then going to the whole game, the body language before the game. I think it's definitely different to what it had been previously. So I think it's not just affecting the manager, it's affecting the players, it's affecting the fans, and I think all it needs is a bit of good news, a bit of positivity. I think the potential takeover may have that, but I think we won't be seeing that this January, which is what we need. So we need, I think, a few players. I think Beckenbottom said actually that we can't just sign players just to give us that short-term buzz and boost, because we need players to suit us. But at the same time, I think we do actually need some good stories. We need some good news, and we need a boost, because at the moment everyone seems to be a bit down in runs, and we needed something to freshen everything up and a bit of positive in the club at the minute, because there's a lot of negative going on at the minute, and it's not good after such a great start to the year as well.
Yeah, I mean every club has a bad patch. This is definitely yours, isn't it? I mean, lots of fans are saying, different reasons why we've seen these results. I mean, the goalkeeper, Harrison Armstrong, going back to Everton. The pitch has been blamed as well. What do you see as the number one reason? Why have North End fallen off a cliff?
I think it goes back to what we were just saying then about that whole atmosphere around the club at the minute. I think because of those reasons, but I think that's really affecting our willingness to fight, as we've, I think, always done as as a club, and particularly this season, I think we've probably given ourselves an extra 10% than other clubs because we know we're not probably quality wise, we're probably as good as say Ipswich or Middlesbrough or whoever, but we know we can give it our all, and we had a great team unity, and I think we've lost that, and I think that is massive because we don't have the players like Leicester, for example, who even when their team unity is not there, we haven't got Fatu just to score from 50 yards and just managed to get a point for us. So I think that has been massive. I think in this bit of run because we've just looked completely dejected, and I think I also noticed as well that we'd under Heckingbottom we hadn't lost a game by more than 2 goals in the whole time, and that's including last season when we went on that horrible run. And we were even, towards the end of the season, we were playing Leeds, who got promoted, and we were in that bad run. We only lost 2-1 to them. We were always in the games. Whether we deserve to be in the games is another thing. But we always made sure we'd get that block in. We'd do whatever to do to try and stay in the game and, not get embarrassed. But our last 2 games have been 3-0, 4-0. I think that there's a reason for that. And, we've had 2 red cards. The discipline's gone. There's, like I say, the stuff on the sideline as well. It just seems like we've thrown in the towel, and I think that, like I say, it's all come from the top. That I don't think it's a coincidence. All that negativity is really starting to creep in, and I think you mentioned the pitch as well. I think if you're a professional footballer having to play on that every week, you know that it could damage your career if you get a bad injury on it. All that sort of thing. You're seeing everything that's going on. You're thinking one minute as a player, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, we could go up here. I could be a Premier League player next year. And then when the wheels come off, they seem to have completely come off. And at the moment, I can't see where we're going to try and fix them at the moment because it's just we are in free fall, as you say.
Yeah. Okay. The rumours then have circulated for a week or so about a potential takeover, and the club have been forced to make some sort of statement about leaked reports and so on. What have you made of all of that?
I mean, it was conveniently timed after the 4-0 defeat. I think, as I say, when the fans need some sort of positive news, I think we're all skeptical of any sort of leak or whatever when it comes. But it does seem to be true. The club obviously made a statement today and mentioned that guy's name, the US Saudi Arabian, and said also that there's other interest as well. So the leak may have come from him to try and push the owner's hands on this because obviously he will want to get a deal done. But I found it interesting that he wants to invest in this window because he also saw the potential. I think he even acknowledged the frustration of the fans that that we're being let down almost because of the lack of investment this window. So it'd be interesting to see how this next week goes, whether that's worked and whether they will actually add some investment in. But I think overall, I think it sounds like good news. I've not read too much on this guy, but he's got a good sporting background, and by the sounds of it, his business has been quite successful. He had he was quite close also to taking over Chelsea. So it's not just like if he's got eyes on them, then that surely must mean there's a bit of good yeah. So I think all that sounds good. I just at the moment, I think everyone's just looking for some positive news. I think they're just clinging on to anything. I think the statement's right. We do need to make sure everything's done properly, and we can't just like, oh yeah, this guy's the new guy or whatever. I think you've got to do it right, but at the same time, I think this window in particular just really, I think, shown to fans that the time's up for the current owners because I think they took as far as they can, and I think. When we've had such a good opportunity with the manager and the players we've had to do what we've done this window is, I think, unforgivable. And I think there's no turning back for them. So whoever comes in, I just hope that they can at least try and take us to that next level.
Okay. Quick word on Osmajic's red card. You can't defend this one, can we?
No, no, we can't. Yeah, I mean, I think the immediate aftermath, I think I didn't see one fan online try and support him. I think I've seen a few since then once he's done that statement on his Instagram story. But I think it's still a bit raw at the minute. I think maybe come the end of the window, my personal point of view would be to try and get rid of him this window, because I think we need to move on from him. I think he's just a liability. We've given him a lot of chances. He knows that. The town end made a massive flag for him in support of him. Sang his songs after he came back for the ban before, and I think it's just like a bit of a middle finger to the fans. So I think that's the most disappointing thing. He knows he needed to come back and win the fans back over, and he's instead done that. I think his body language as well was actually disgraceful when you see him get sent off and he's giving that smirk. I think, fair enough if you do it in the heat of the moment. I think he had time to stop as well and actually think, I don't need to do this, but the guy is, like I say, he's a loose cannon, and I think he's probably better that we just get rid of him because of that. But if we're still with him at the end of the window and we haven't signed anyone else, then we're still gonna have to rely on him, because we can't expect Michael Smith to lead the line for the rest of the season. No, but we want Michael Smith to be leading the line for the rest of the season. So it's going to be one of those where he's just going to really have to grovel to the fans. And, he's only out for 3 games this time. So now it's 2. So, he's probably going to come back if the manager wants him and the players want him. And that's the only reason. He'd have to really win over the manager, players and the fans. And, if he starts scoring on his return, then, we're all fickle, aren't we? So we might we might be singing his name again. But yeah, I think my personal preference would be for him to leave as long as we can replace him this window.
Well said. Yeah. Ipswich this weekend. Then it doesn't get any easier, does it?
No, no, it doesn't. I was looking at their score on Saturday that they lost. I was thinking that might be the only, redeeming factor. But they were away and they were usually quite good at Portman Road. But it's not what I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm going to it. I'm just seeing if anyone will, seeing if I can pay anyone to take my ticket rather than the other way around. Because it could be one of those, another one of those really bad days, especially if we haven't strengthened between now and Saturday, or even try and leave a signing until right close to the day when they haven't had a chance to gel in with the squad or anything. Story, we tried to appeal that red card, whether that be successful or not is remains to be seen. If we're not, we're going to be playing Liam Lindsay, who was a bit of a calamity before his injury. We've got Gibson, who's been a calamity since he's come back from injury. So that could just be, and obviously we less said about Walton or Cornell, the better. So unless we have a load of luck between now and Saturday, Armstrong suddenly comes back, Everson's back from injury, Hughes is back from injury, Story gets his card rescinded, I think we are going to be struggling on Saturday, because they are a really good side and they've got a lot of pace, and at the moment our back line won't have a lot of pace, so it's going to be interesting. Let's say that.
Okay. Join us next week when we'll have the lads back to review all of that, of course, as well. Right, you're on your own this week, Joey, for the A to Z, so we can have your free pick without anyone stealing it. Who gets in your North End for the letter M, which is where we're up to?
Yeah, well, M for managers, was it, and M for Moyes. So
yeah,
I think he works for both, to be fair, because he not only just was he a great player for us. This was before my time, to be fair, but when I first started supporting Preston, very early memories. I mean, I probably can't really fully remember it, but it was that 2000-2001 season when we got to the playoffs. Beat Birmingham and then got to the final. Unfortunately lost there, but obviously the season before we'd only just come up from what is now League One, and just completely owned that league. Came up and straight away in the playoffs we were again flirting with the playoffs when Everton came calling, and I don't think there's been a better manager and also a better custodian for Preston, because he stayed in Preston after he left, and he's been a bit of an ambassador for us. And as long as he lends us back Armstrong, he will keep in the good books with us.
Well, look at his scoreline now against Leeds, and I'm not sure he's going to get him back.
Oh no, I haven't looked at it.
All right, Brill. Who have we missed though? Other M's in the chat, please. We'll read some of these out.
McKenna will be another one, I guess. Some people will go for.
Yeah. Good shout, Brill. Right, cheers, Joey. Hard job on your own this week, but appreciate it. Thanks so much, buddy. We'll catch you all back next week then, after our trip, of course, to Ipswich, and also we'll be talking about who's our worst ever manager next week as well. Quite a few on that list, I'd imagine. Get thinking about that one. Thanks, Joey. Catch you next week. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. 20 minutes of North End chat every single week. Thanks for watching.